I know nothing about the piano, but his hands would move so like, it's like watching like a Muppet play the piano. And like seemingly he's just hitting stuff and he's all fucking over the place. But there's this like amazing, complicated ragtime stuff.
Yeah, sorry. This is late too, guys. Yesterday was just kind of like
Yesterday was a shitty day.
Yeah, yesterday was weird.
I woke up I started looking through Instagram as we do. What a themed episode so far about having your nose in your phone at the tail end of a pandemic.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do? Jog? Eat a dick. So. I started looking on Instagram, and I think I saw a post from Adam Ray that was talking about the passing of Jeff Scott. And Jeff Scott was the house piano player for the Comedy Store for the past like 25, 26 years. And this dude would, he was stationed in the original room to the right of the stage, and he had his keyboard, and he would do the house announcements, and he would, alert the comics to like their cue. The light to when you have to get off the stage is right above his head. It's a neon sign. It's a star. So, Potluck people know him. All the established comics know him because he's always been there. He's an amazing performer. He's like written musicals. He used to be, come with these elaborate costumes every Halloween to the Comedy Store, like elaborate, like fucking, special effects makeup and like all this shit. You would come into the Comedy Store and automatically it's unlike any other comedy club I've ever been in. It has its own thing, and there's a whole ambiance that just makes you feel like anything could happen. You're here for a show. It's like this weird adult puppet show type vibe. And then Jeff would be in the corner, usually playing like a very like ragtime type whatever, and it just set the ambiance to like this art form. The stand-up art form is very simple. It's just a person with their own personality and worldviews talking into something that makes the voice louder to make a room full of people laugh.
Right.
And the old-timey type ragtime music, I think, really set the vibe and like painted the atmosphere in a way that like, I'm just going to see this fucking like, art form, tale as old as time thing. And we're all just kind of, it's a very like human connection thing where we're gathering around, we're listening to somebody else's stories and we're having this shared experience. And that whole environment is going to be forever changed because he's not there anymore. And it was very shocking. He's very active on Facebook and like, will always tell you what he thinks. And loved comedy so much, loved comedians. If you got on his bad side, it was very bad.
Yeah.
He used to, I think last time we spoke, he was telling me about how he used to fuck with people who would, because there were like, I think there's one row in front of him of people, maybe two or three chairs in front of him, and then the stage, and everything is like everyone's on top of each other in that room. And he was just telling me about how he would fuck with people who would come in and like, they'd get situated in their chair and they'd bump his shit and his keyboard or his mic would fall over, whatever. And he would fuck with those people a lot when they would get drunk and spill their shit or, laugh obnoxiously and bump into his shit. He would, fuck with those people.
That's always fun.
He was the best, man.
Yeah.
He would play with the comedians and he just loved being around it. And he was such a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And, I'm speaking as not a member of the, Comedy Store family, but as someone who's been around that place a lot and has seen a lot of people, even in our short time here, like the past 7 years or whatever, seen a lot of people come and go. He was really like, to me, as big of a part of that place as like the fucking, the neon lights that you go there to see or the name on the wall. I think he was like the first non-comic with his name on the wall or something like that.
That's cool.
And Everyone's just going to miss him
Yeah.
a lot because he was the goddamn best. Knew all the stories, knew all the ghost stories, knew so much about when the club was Ciro's. It was like that mob hangout. You know, he has his own little, he had so much Comedy Store and Ciro's memorabilia at his place that, you know, they could take all that stuff and make like a little mini museum out of it. I'm sure they'll do something like that. But just like a fucking well of information about that whole place.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to miss him very much. I think his name is Jeff Scott Entertainer on Instagram. And there's so many clips you can go back of him playing piano. And, you know, I know nothing about the piano, but his hands would move so like, it's like watching like a Muppet play the piano. And like seemingly he's just hitting stuff. And he's all fucking over the place. But there's this like amazing, complicated ragtime stuff. And, you know, I miss all these like very specific, seemingly mundane, atmospheric things about being in the clubs.
Yeah.
And as a comedian that maybe wouldn't have a show, you know, either you have a late night spot in the belly room or something, so you're just kind of hanging around until it happens.
Yeah.
Or you finished your set somewhere else and you come to the Comedy Store just to finish your night or hang out. And normally what I would do is I would walk in and say hi to the door person and just kind of see who was in all the rooms.
Yeah.
And by the end of 2019, it's like you couldn't even hang out in the main room, which is the biggest room. The original room, it was impossible to hang out in until late at night when the chairs started emptying out. Because you could pay for a ticket for the late night show and the room would turn over. And then the later show, you could just stay there until like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But going in there, saying hi to the door person and just hearing, you know, one person comes off stage and asks Jeff like, hey, who's up next? And Jeff will tell him who's up next. And they'll be like, oh, you'll love this next guy. And all the comics introduce each other and stuff like that. And then they play the ragtime music, or if somebody had a really good set, he would play the Star Wars music.
Yeah.
And hearing that totally different, amazing stand-up show experience happening to your left, and you walk down the hallway and then it's happening right in front of you in the main room. And then you walk up the stairs and there's a completely different experience happening in the belly room. And that was just happening every night for a few years.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think how it's never going to be the same because of an absence of a couple key people. And there's so much hungry, younger talent and people ready to kind of like carry the baton and like so hungry to do it because we haven't been able to do it for so long.
Right.
But I have no doubt that it's like, you know, you used to be able to go there and everybody on the lineup had like sold out theaters or arenas across the country.
Yeah. And now everyone's like gone.
Yeah. A lot of people.
Yeah.
But there's this whole group of comics coming up who's like ready to do that next.
Right.
And I just can't wait to see what happens. But Jeff's absence is going to leave a huge hole.
Yeah.
But he trained people to be like, you know, his replacement and stuff like that. So just very exciting to see what happens. And everyone's going to miss Jeff so much. And he really would. The Comedy Store is an incredibly intimidating place for a new comedian who's not in with who you have to be in with to be in there.
Right.
Incredibly unwelcoming, especially if you disrespect the place in one way or another, knowingly or not. But if you're cool with everyone, Jeff, you know, always had a story to tell you, and he was always smiling, and he would always take a couple minutes if he had it to, you know, smoke out back with you and talk with you. And just a lot of things I miss about that place.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the end of my talk about it. So go look him up and go to the Comedy Store. Go to the Comedy Store Instagram. And by the end of it, this dude, Brenton Biddlecombe, is a great comedian. And he really, really got all the social media stuff off the ground and, you know, took more chances and did more with with all their Instagram and their online presence. And he did a fucking great job, and he built that whole shit up, you know? And they were doing these things towards the end where they would just walk through the club, and it's exactly what I'm talking about. And without being there, you could get an experience or get a taste of the experience that I was just talking about.
Yeah.
And if you have any interest in comedy, I would recommend doing that very much.
Yeah.
And leave a comment and just thank Brenton for doing all that. And you can, you know, listen to Jeff play down the hall and get a sense of the environment there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that.
Yeah.